Good morning, everybody. How's it going? It's David's Scarred Thumb Podcast. Ooh, we got a lot to get into. I hope you enjoyed that extra hour of sleep. We fell back today. If you didn't do that, check your clocks. You might be late for something. Anyway, let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about shills. Well, at least we're going to start off by talking about it. We're also going to go into some reviews for some other games that I'd far rather talk about than this stuff. But we'll go into it. Big game, big talking point this week was Veilguard, Dragon Age Veilguard. It had a lot of woke stuff surrounding it. They had top surgery scars as an option for your character. You become transgender or non-binary in the storyline. They've got characters that are non-binary, have changed their pronouns to they. There's all this sort of cringe shit around it in the writing. But one of the things that came out outside of it was that the accusation that EA was denying certain reviewers codes because they didn't think they'd be appreciative, positive enough about it. So let's get it. This is from Fextra Life. I'll bring it up here. You probably can't see it. This is from Fextra Life on YouTube.
I made my video that I'd be denied access to a review code. To which, of course, I replied, no, I'm not worried about getting denied access to a review code. That simply doesn't happen in the gaming industry.
Jack.
But I was not concerned about this at all. I reassured him that he shouldn't be concerned about this because it's just not really a thing in the gaming industry. It's so rare that it shouldn't scare someone into not saying what they think about a game. So after publishing our video, nearly immediately, our contacts at EA and BioWare stopped replying and communication went to zero. So we started inquiring as to what was happening and reaching out to other contacts in the industry in a bit wider of a circle to try and figure out what's happening. As a result, we discovered that we were essentially getting fake reassurances that we were getting a code to keep us happy while denying us access to the Veilguard. It wasn't too long after this that I began to be contacted by other press and content creators about whether or not we had a code, and generally speaking, I get this a lot. People tend to ask me whether I have a code or not, because we generally get codes for all the big games. I'm not trying to brag, it's just simply reality. We have a large channel. We almost always get a code, and another creator or press can figure out if they should have a code right now, if they're going to get one or not, by asking us this question, which is what happened here. And we started piecing together between us that some people had codes and others didn't, including ourselves. And you might have also seen Wolfheart's tweets about this topic on Twitter or X, and Luke Stevens' video about this topic as well. Both of those individuals were with us in California for the preview event, and both of them put out preview videos as well as ours. And I think between the three of us, we probably have some of the three most viewed videos on this topic, or at least most commented on, I would say. And if you read those tweets, and
so that's basically what the skinny, as far as what happened from these this review code. These certain channels that were critical of the preview build were not given codes, and the guy, this is Legendary Drop talking about it too.
Been on YouTube for 11 years. He's been making videos on video games for over 5
That's
years.
another guy that he's talking about, this Wolfheart FPS, a super dedicated RPG channel.
You don't give a code to, that you know is critical of the game. He's one of the biggest people in the entire scene, and this is who you go and ignore. I'm sorry, what they're doing right here is fucking purposeful. I don't give a shit what anybody says. They do not want to.
Because there are plenty of people out there shilling, saying like, "Oh yeah, it just doesn't happen that way. Like sometimes you just don't get a code. It happens. It's totally nothing. It's totally nothing." If you're a they at IGN, giving it a 9. Oh wait, I need to
give codes to people that are critical of the game.
This guy called this.
Are trying to make
I'll give
sure
Legendary some credit, because I'm going to be
as
a little bit critical of him
possible
a little later on
before its release. I think that optically, this is fucking bad. It was done purposefully. And two, at the exact same time, I think that what this really is, or how this game's going to be received, is I think that it's going to be a solid game. I don't think it's going to be a bad game. I think it's just going to be a solid game. Not great, not insane, not top tier or anything like that. It's just going to be a decent game, but it's just not going to land well with a lot of audiences, because I think that ideologically the game is going to diverge away from what kind of experiences people are looking for, the kind of stories that they're looking for, the kind of characters.
This is the
they're
thing I
looking
don't like
for,
about what
and
he
the art
always
style that
he
they're
never
looking for.
quite says
And more
exactly what that
importantly,
is. What
in
experience?
combat. Like, even though there's some people that are like, I think the action combat's going to speak to people. That UI is hideous. It is so gross. Typical IGN 7? No, I think that IGN's probably going to give it like a 9.
Gotta give it like a 9. He was right on the money. I'll give him credit for this. They gave it a 9 because, of course, it's got a bunch of gay shit in it. So why wouldn't they give it a 9? They gotta have freelance writer Lena Haffer here, they from PC Gamer, reviewing it. Refreshes and regates the storied series with enjoyable action combat and moving character writing. Very moving. That's great. So you had shills like Cowboy here, who blocked me at some point. I don't recall really engaging with him either. But honestly, you're all chasing ghosts here. Using y'all unironically. White dude for Harris fighting Cowboy here. I cover a shit ton of RPGs and am a comparable size to Fectra Life. Sometimes you just don't get a code. There's some game review Illuminati. Again, they always have to, whenever you know someone's being insincere, when they have to make up these sort of like hyperbolic, it's a game conspiracy theory, Illuminati, triangles, flat earth, deciding which YouTubers will give the best reviews, and plenty have been critical of the game. There have been people that were critical, like Dave, critical reviews of it, but most of the people saying the writing's terrible. But this is what he has to say, which is, again, doesn't really address any of the concerns of what this is bringing up. The fact that these people were invited to the preview are very popular channels dedicated strictly to this type of content. And the fact that they were denied a review code seems very purposeful. Very purposeful. And he's not going to address that. He's just going to hand wave it away because he benefits a lot from access, getting early access to the game so he can make guides, let's plays, talk about it early. He's 100% a shill. And we'll be dealing with him a little bit later. So this, again, Legendary Drops. So this is what I don't like about, he's saying good stuff. He's sort of on our side, if you want to make this left versus right thing. But the discussion, but he never goes quite into it. He always said they're not playing to their consumer base, or they're not appealing to the consumer base. He never says what exactly they're putting in that isn't appealing to the consumer base. It's not going to resonate with. He'll never say it. He'll never say that it's the transgender stuff that people don't like, that people find disgusting. Hey, good morning, Bull Rush. He'll just say what it isn't. The discussion on Dragon Age Veilguard shouldn't be about ideologies. It should be about curating review scores and access media. If you're using this way to own the left, you're distracting from the discussion and baiting outrage. If you're fitting the practice, you're a corporate apologist. Either way, both parties are playing right into their hands. Whose hands here? What? It's just supposed to be a distraction or something from a larger issue. Look, I don't care. Dragon Age ended up doing decently well. It's an established IP. From all I've seen, the game runs decently enough. So, as far as the combat, everyone basically said for a Dragon Age game, it's shit. But it's just sort of mediocre, decently running, action RPG that, people can consume. It's the next thing you can consume if you're an RPG fan, an action RPG fan. The writing is awful and cringe for the most part. People complain that you can't really make any tough choices, which I think we'll go into a little bit later. So I'll talk about that there. But they add a bunch of, that's a problem with this DEI sort of things. If you believe in these projected groups, these victim and victimizer mentality, and you want to add in these sort of victim groups, the issue is then you can't be mean to them. You can't portray them negatively. You can't portray people or let players do mean things. Like if you're going to add this trans person to the game and then you give them an option to like chop the trans person's head off, well, that would be transphobic according to like your own rules. So you immediately, the second you put that in, you have to put all these sort of guardrails, like protection for that character. It becomes such sort of like a pet for the developers, essentially. So you don't have the same options that you normally would have, and it kills the art of it. And people keep complaining about, like just the dialogue. It just feels like HR's in the room. There's really nothing to it. It's too safe. Everything, all the conversations and the options are too safe. But they'll never say why that is, which continue like guys like this continue to aggravate me. Like, why? Why is it too safe? Are you willing to say what it is? That it is, that sort of like sweet baby consulting kind of company mentality that we got to hire a consultant here to come in and review our writing and make sure that it's not going to offend anybody. They won't get into that far. And I get that, some of the cultural people just go like way too far and like make dumb arguments that kind of maybe, you could kind of argue maybe poison the well. But it's the reality. Like if you have someone like, if you're worried about offending 20 different groups in your writing is probably going to be shit. Because it's just going to be you'll never hear anything that's, funny, anything that's unexpected. It's just going to be bland nothing all the time. But one thing to come out of this, another thing that kind of storyline per se that came out of this was that there was a gentleman named Mr. Matty Plays here that had a critical review of Dragon Age. And when people were watching this review, they were noticing that the custom character that showed up in it was very similar to leaks that showed up earlier from an account that said some pretty messed up things, some implication to N-words, a goy that remains is a candle, kind of a little bit, some colorful language. Let's just say that. So the same custom character, which, it's pretty impossible that it shows up twice. Two people make the same exact character. Then the guy that had an early access review copy. So that led people to immediately think that this Mr. Matty Plays had leaked it to a friend that was a bigot. So, hey, cutie. So this was what this Hagatha Christie here, sure a lovely woman. Hey, cutie, is this you? From the leaked video being spread by you or one of your friends? Shame other companies saw who they trusted with their content either. Couldn't give it 24 hours just to post a critical review? You bad to show your phobe friends? Or was it you directly? Oh, man. The friend. To be clear, this has nothing to do with the critical review. God, women. Women, guys. It has nothing to do with the critical review. You literally mentioned the critical review. You could have given it 24 hours just to post a critical review? Sure, lady. We believe you. Nothing to do with the critical review / game reviews was the video, it 100% was. God, you're not even fooling anyone. How it was used is the issue I hope is addressed. This clip could have come from him before embargo ends, so he either hires bigots, is a bigot, or is friends with a bigot. So this was the accusation coming out. Mr. Cowboy decided to run with this like, yikes. Question mark. This is how you just know he's a piece of shit. Is this type of stuff. They'll never say anything. They'll never make an accusation. They always just quote tweet with like, yikes, or not a good look. I think he does say this, yes. Funny Cowboy. For those asking, I haven't heard back from Matty yet. I like to think it's an editor that passed around footage because it seems extremely out of character for him. But until I hear back, it's hard to know anything for certain. Not looking good, though, at the moment. So this is a guy, he knows him. He has some cool folks. He has this guy, second right here from the left. He has him on his channel, as some cool folks. And this dude couldn't give the guy 24 hours before retweeting some like potentially career-ending drama to this guy. Like he says, like I think it's extremely out of character. I'm still gonna retweet it though, and I'm gonna like kind of imply that maybe it could be him. I mean, you know the guy. I assume you put him here because you've done some stuff with him. You seem to think that he's cool. So you couldn't even give him some time before you immediately retweeted a bunch of extremely damaging gossip. I mean, these are just, again, like, this guy not have a father? Did no one like tell him how men should deal with issues? Nah, let me just put it out in the public. I mean, why not? Why not? What could be wrong with that? So if I understand it correctly, the implication is Maddie is behind the leak and his friend's a Nazi. Is that right? Kind of. The footage is. The question is, how does the weird Nazi posting of all the spoilers fit into the picture? Was Maddie compromised to attack, or is he knowingly working with a shitbag? The alternate of those two is the worst case scenario. This is a guy. How do you do this to someone that you actually like work with creatively, have some sort of creative relationship with? You don't even give them a time because he probably wants the guy to fail. Is the reality. Like he doesn't care. It's about if it's one less competition he has to deal with, one less the guy has almost he is not quite getting up to his sub count, but he doesn't care. He wants to be on the right side. You're like, oh shit, this guy broke embargo. He's part of a different group than I am. Why not make him look bad? I'll pretend I'm friends with him, but the second something bad comes out, here he is to sort of lie about it and imply that this guy's a piece of shit. He might be a Nazi. I don't know. I mean, it just looks a little weird. It's a bad look for him. Sure thing, Bal. Sure thing. And then Mr. Batty Plays came out, said it go with a statement a little bit later. It goes without saying, but today has been an extremely hard day. I really appreciate your patience as I looked into things. First off, I'd like to apologize to everyone at Bioware EA. I have reached out to them and let them know the truth. We have plans to sit down and have a conversation about it. That is my gameplay. It was never my intention for clips of Dragon Age to get released ahead of the embargo lifting. I had shared 2 clips of the game with an editor of mine. It is my understanding that these clips were taken and shared again and went down the chain to someone far removed from both of us, who then posted it claiming to be associated with me. So yes, the clips are mine. If Bioware EA or any other game company chooses not to work with me over this, then I fully understand and accept that. If you, the viewer of my content, choose not to trust me because you deem me irresponsible with the privilege I was given as a game reviewer, I also fully understand and accept that. And this is another clip where I'm deeply disheartened by the amount of people who believed that this Twitter account was me. I don't expect blind loyalty, yet it hurts to see just how quickly I was thrown under the bus by losers like Cowboy here. The sad reality is that all the damage is done, and many people have made up their minds about me today. I want to thank my wife, my best friends, and my LSM family who hung with me and didn't lose faith in me. The statements about my character today have broken my heart into a million pieces. I don't say that so that you feel bad for me. I was just feeling it's important to give my love to those who willingly stood by me in the face of all this. I know it wasn't easy to have your ethics in question just by being in my vicinity. So, yeah, that was the statement he came out with. Of course, guys, like I said, like Cowboy, just immediately, he could be a Nazi. Who knows? He's cool. He's cool, guys. But he's also, apparently, Cowboy is totally cool with having Mr. Matty Plays potential Nazi as some cool folks. Again, it's just such two-faced shit when you see stuff like this. Like, oh, yeah, like, oh, you're going to help me, my career? You can help me get some more views, collab, cool, do. And then, bam. Then it's all like, oh, yeah, he could be a Nazi. He could be. Then second, like anything bad happens to him, boom, he's right there. Right there to stab you in the back. Good old fighting Cowboy. But anyway, that is it for the drama. It's kind of interesting to see just, again, all these positivity people, all these shills. They'll tell you, oh, yeah, you got to be positive. You got to make the world a better place. And then the second, one of their own has something come up, shows weakness. They're like vultures coming down to stab you in the back. It's amazing. He should start a Substack. So this is, again, legendary drops. I think I already put that in. But again, like, this is a thing. Like, he doesn't want to get into it. We already did that. And this was another thing. This was from Skill Up, and this is kind of about the writing. And this is what you see a lot.
Relationships with your companions is so woefully outdated, drawn out quest lines completely divorced from the main plot, starring disposable villains and recycling the same settings, enemies, and bosses you find elsewhere. The romance system feels equally antiquated, heavily reliant on the "will bang okay" button, even when it doesn't make sense for that to be an option, with no supporting systems behind it to make your romance decisions feel believable or consequential. The world design is so weird. I have never encountered worlds quite like this. They feel more like Overwatch maps than actual explorable spaces, and they're littered with puzzles so mind-numbingly stupid that I wonder how little BioWare must think of our ability to solve puzzles. And the combat is like, man, shallow is too kind a word. The lack of enemy variety, the sponginess of those enemies, how limited your control over party members is, it all makes combat so utterly mindless and so breathtakingly repetitive. Let me put it this way. I spoke to 2 other reviewers who both ended up lowering the difficulty to the easiest setting, not because it was hard, but because it was just so drawn out and so boring. I've never done that before for any game that I've reviewed, but I did it at the 40-hour mark here, and I swear to God, I wish I did it 20 hours earlier. I know how brutal all of this sounds, and I want to be super clear that I desperately wanted it to be different. I really did. I am aware of the stakes surrounding this game and what it means for BioWare's future, and I was praying so hard that BioWare's unbelievable tension, because it doesn't know how to create any terminal. It lacks any new formula while delivering absolutely none of the writing, characterization, and imagination that made its previous games so great. The writing is frankly terminal. It lacks any nuance or wit or wisdom. It cannot communicate ideas except to say them aloud to the camera. It manufactures petty, unbelievable tension because it doesn't know how to create anything more real, and it's too scared to ever be truly confronting or dark for fear that it might make the audience uncomfortable. Every interaction between the companions feels like HR is in the room, and every interaction led by the main character, Rook, sounds like he's addressing an under-12 soccer team before a semi-final, or teaching toddlers how to properly share toys. The way you build relationships...
And this is the thing, like, people say, it sounds like HR... This is a common complaint. It sounds like HR is in the room. Or, HR is talking to, like their corporate business. They're just, talking to friends like you would at a business or a corporate meeting, but they'll never quite go into why that is. Like, why has that become a thing now? Well, it's because, again, if you're so into, all these people are so into making sure that you don't offend anybody, that your stuff is, politically correct, and you're not offending any certain group or anything's too harsh. This is what happens. This is what happens when your writers are like, purple-haired, blue-haired freaks, which I think is actually the case. I didn't pull the pictures of some of the writers on the team, but they look exactly how you think they look. They're either fat women or blue-haired transgendered freaks. And this is how they write. It's just the most like babied, safe garbage. And I mean, it just doesn't fit like an RPG. Like, apparently Dragon Age is supposed to be sort of like a dark fantasy RPG. It just, it just doesn't work. Of course, Skill Up's not going to say, like, they're not going to even begin to try and get into the culture war, but hey, if this keeps going, this is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. But Jason Schreider, here we go. Jewish game reporter, Jason Schreider here is, this is from a review on Metacritic, is truly unhinged, not because it's, the dog whistling. Dog whistling, because the divine power that idiots keep ascribing to consultants. Hate to break it to you folks, but the people making the key decisions at game companies aren't on contract. He's right. But they hire those people. They want those people as part of their company. It's a game that clearly has a bit of the Sweet Baby Inc. treatment in spots when it comes to character backgrounds and storytelling, and it's a game that is willing to offer fan service. But the game is willing to offer fan service by giving old characters little something. It's cut off. So he got pissed off at the whole sweet baby ink treatment, which means, exactly what the other person said, that the writing's super safe. There's a bunch, transgender, there's a transgender storyline in it with people, apologize, doing push-ups because they misgendered their friend. It is incredibly lame. But why not? Why isn't this, why can't this sweet baby ink become synonymous with that? Because that's 100% what this is. It's this, this sort of culture of consultants where it's like writing by consultant, where you have to get, approval from your boss and then a consultant just to make sensitivity consultant until it's just, rounded out to till it's nothing, just a boring bunch of nothing, which I guess is probably what the Dragon Age is. It's just a product to consume. It won't cause any waves. And then you have people here. This was from Christina Tasty. I keep seeing people compared Baldur's Gate 3 and Dragon Age when it comes to their approach to characters and storytelling. I think a subconscious factor is that modern day DA, you're railroaded into accepting things. In Baldur's Gate 3, you can go to the kindest character of the game and lop her head off, which is cool. Very cool, exactly. Story by committee. And I mean, hey, and look, if they want to add transgender characters in the game, but then give you the option of cutting the transgender person's head off, I don't think people would complain that much about transgenders in their RPG. But since you can't really do anything to them, you feel like railroaded into accepting it or being kind to them, it just doesn't give you the options that you want in storytelling. And that would be, that would be cool. A cool way to do diversity is you get to be as mean or as nice to these sort of diverse folks as you want. But the main thing about art nowadays, the art in video games, is that it's made, especially like this sort of activist art, is that it's, and especially in respect to video games, where the player does get a choice. It's very much run by the player. You don't give those players the choices because the video game is specifically to make you accept certain things. Women are toned down because if you see sexy women in a video game, the people that are making it believe that somehow makes people more sexist. They somehow think if they added, a women with big boobs into their video games, with lots of cleavage, that somehow they're making the world a worse place. And by somehow, toning it down, by putting in a transgender person into their video game, that they're somehow making the world a better place by doing that their art is somehow better. It's somehow elevated by adding in this level of diversity, when that's complete bullshit. It doesn't actually do anything. In fact, it probably makes it worse because it's just sort of poisoning diversity. When you see a transgender character, when you see a black character, it's going to be something specific. It's going to be a Mary Sue. Their character is going to be completely uninteresting. It's like when you see people are so rejecting the idea of having a female main lead because they've seen so many female leads where it's just she's completely desexualized. She basically just acts like a man. Essentially, it just ends up being a woman playing a man in a video game. It doesn't add anything to it. In fact, it probably takes it away. Because it'd be kind of cool to play a guy acting like a badass. If you put in a woman and you add absolutely nothing that benefits her being a woman in terms of femininity, sexuality, you just take all of that away, then it doesn't do anything. There's no point to it. It's strictly, just vanity for the developer. And that's pathetic. But this is, last we'll talk about it. The fact they can't really be mean in Dragon Age Veilguard is the most damning aspect that even some positive reviews highlight. Feels like there's an option. Feels like that's an option that matters in RPG. Choices / consequences. But anyway, that's my rant about Veilguard. It's, again, the game looks like it runs decently. It's a decently made game, which a lot of these guys are. A lot of these games are, but ultimately it's just, bland slop. And Echoes of Wisdom had a female lead and was a great game. Echoes of Wisdom was great, and the female lead worked in that because rather than, Link that directly he sort of directly engages with the enemies, engages in direct conflict with the sword and shield. A lot of the fighting in enemy combat in Echoes of Wisdom is done passively. You summon stuff to fight for you. So, that lead being a female worked. In fact, it fit far more than having Link as the lead, because it would make more sense. It would fit Link's character more to have him fight directly with his own two hands. Having a woman, that sort of hides behind, these big monsters and have these monsters fight for her, that works. It fits better. So having Zelda be the main character in that RPG, and when I did that video about the interview with the creators of Echoes of Wisdom, they talked about that. So like, hey, this having Link with a sword and shield doesn't fit the overall like what we want to do with the game. And then they realized that, hey, Zelda would be the perfect character for this, because you're not fighting these enemies directly. You're summoning stuff to do it for you. So having a character that is more passive in combat fits. It works. It makes the game better. So that's the reason why that works so well. Having her as a lead, it made sense. It wasn't done to score points. It was done with a purpose, and that's what makes it work. Now, though that's the thing, is like a lot of this stuff is story first, gameplay second, rather than something like Legend of Zelda, which was gameplay was decided on first. Then I realized, hey, our main protagonist, it's so far out of what we usually do. Our main protagonist usually doesn't fit in it. So why not switch it to another character? Well, let's move on. Actually, I forgot to. I want to talk about some video games. Let's actually talk about some good stuff, some fun stuff. Let's see. Here's what we're going to talk about. Does this have? And it is. All right, so this is Mirage Feathers. This is a game, if you remember, if you were watching, but for those that haven't, I did review the early access of this, but the full version came out, and it's only $5. Let me say that first. It's only It's a $5 game, so any of the criticism I get to it is in that context, that it's a $5 game. This is a game that looks very interesting. It has a very anime girl aesthetic to it, but it's also very similar to a game. I believe it's called. I think it's called either Rolling or Roaring Thunder. Let's see, Roaring Thunder video game. Let me check. I'll just play it while this is going. If you can see, the visuals are pretty crazy. I don't know if they'll give people motion sickness or not. Rolling Thunder, no. That also has this little no, I can't remember what game it was. So there's similar like a game back in the Genesis era, but it does some really cool visuals. It has a story. Personally, I thought the story it's boring. It just moves really slowly and just talks and talks. For what it's trying to express, it just takes too long. It doesn't. I don't know if I'd say it doesn't fit, but essentially, it's such an anime plot where they're weapons that were used in a war that have sort of outlived their usefulness, and they're kind of worried that they might, now that the war is basically coming to an end, they don't need them, and they're kind of like an X factor. They're a little too dangerous. So they need to get rid of them. And, your character is fighting to recover her friend that was shown in the initial cutscene against the sort of Federation, this government group that controls the world. Again, very anime. It has some really cool visuals. I mean, you don't see a game that looks like this anymore. And that's kind of what attracted me to the game. It has kind of like a shoot 'em up feel, but unlike top-down shoot 'em ups, the main issue is that you can't really see the bullets coming at you, or really understand their trajectory. But in top-down shmup, you can see sort of the vector that they're coming at you, and you're able to dodge. In this, a lot of times you can't. You just can't tell like where it's coming from. It's hard to see if it's going to hit you or not. The boss battles themselves have some cool visuals, but some of this, especially some of the missiles, like I don't know if those missiles are going to hit me. I just have to like move around and hope I don't get hit. I think that's my main gripe with the game. The other gripe I have is that, especially with some of these maps, they don't really have like set pieces. There's one of the things. They don't really have like set pieces in it to like tell how far you are in the stage. But with some stages like this, I really like the visuals. I think visually it's a really cool looking game. I'm playing on easy right now, so this game only like it's a fairly difficult game if you put it on like normal or something. But with like some upgrades and energy, the energy weapons you have in this game are just like super strong. So that might be another issue that kind of balance. Again, but this is a $5 game, so I don't want to be too harsh on like some small studio that made a pretty cool looking game. You can beat the whole thing in like 3 hours. But obviously this is a game that's not necessarily long. It's made to be played like over and over again. But as I can kind of see, I mentioned this before, but like as you're going down in this game, enemies appear, but it's not like you feel like you're getting closer to the. It doesn't feel like you're getting closer to the land. There's nothing like really noticeable things in these stages to tell you like, all right, I'm a third of the way through the stage, or I'm halfway through the stage, or anything like that. And that kind of makes it feel like the stages are going on forever. And you have like these kind of like cool visual things like you're speeding through. I thought I'd get like motion sick playing a game like this, but the fact is when I play, like you're so focused on the reticle and like the enemies ahead that that's not really a factor. But like watching it, I could I don't like to watch it. It looks a little bit too ugly. As far as like the visuals are it's a little bit too much. But I think the game itself is really fun to look at and play. It's just got a unique feel. And for $5, it was a good time. It's a good, 3-4 hours if you want to like platinum it. It's really easy. Of course, if you really like the game, really speaks to you, you could get a lot more out of it. It's they've saw like stuff like endless mode, where every like 3 stages you get some upgrades. You can just play that as long as you want. They have normal, hard. They have like a little upgrade system where you can make it easier or harder, depending on how you want. It was just pretty cool. But the other game I want to talk about, that's it for Mirage Wings. Again, a fun game, fairly cheap. Cool to see what a small developer can do with its a small developer. Let's see, how would I say? Cool to see what a small developer can make, with some only like a small amount of time and effort and a limited budget. The main game that came out, Monster Hunter Wilds, open beta. What will probably be 2025's biggest game. It's, Monster Hunter Wilds. One of the things that I didn't like is that they added in an arachnophobia mode. So it turns some like monsters, this like weird like spidery looking critters into blobs. And I do not know why people keep, maybe this is like an advertising stunt. I don't get why people keep adding this stuff in. I like visual accessibility, audio accessibility, motion sickness reduction. I think these are all great options. I just don't get. I don't like the idea of like changing character designs like this. Yeah, your hitbox is huge in that game, 100%. Which might be one of the issues with the game, but. Changing it into like blobs, I guess it's something that anybody can do, but still, it's like there's something about like arachnophobia. Really, it seems like such a weird thing to like become like a standard in game. Like I said, World of Warcraft has it. Black Ops 6 turns spiders into something else. Veilguard, It doesn't have spiders, but I think there's an acrophobia mode on Lethal Company. Because people are really afraid of spiders, which is kind of a weird thing. I think spiders are pretty cool. I don't want them in my house or like on me, but I don't really mind them all that much. And like, why not? Why not be scared in a game? This is Monster Hunter Wilds, or unless you're still watching the Mirage Feathers was the game I had before, depending on how much you're delayed. But the beta came out and it was super. It's been super cool. There's so many good things that come out of it. One of the things is it has pretty high specs. The stuff that it's pretty high end on PC right now. They haven't optimized it as well as they could. And one of the things is when you put your stuff on super low, it becomes like this super low polygon monsters. They should have a transphobia mode, 100%. So you see like this. This is supposed to be a monster, Chotacabra. It looks like some like weird abstraction. Again, I think that's an eyeball right there. These things look crazy. Low poly Ray Dow. Doesn't even look like anything. It's amazing. Low poly Balahara. Amazing. Just amazing looking stuff. And so many people were memeing on this. It was great. There's your Alma. This is from Adrian 01. This face. Oh my god. Olivia looks better than she normally does in a low poly mode. 100%. I love that. Oh, this is a video of someone playing. It's great. It's great to see them in action. That's supposed to be his feet and his head. They're really liking it. Their PC's struggling here. Kind of hope they leave that in. That'd be a good mode to have. Low poly monsters. Looks like my ex-wife. And it's people even inspire people to make artwork based on the monsters. Low poly monsters. Like this Ray Dow and low poly. In a sort of Japanese style. Very cool. The other thing is like they have a character creator. And people are just making some really cool stuff with it. I think it has the same type of character creator as Dragon's Dogma. That was also a Capcom game. It's funny. You can even make an old woman if you want to, but mostly, and then I think this is Gitama. Anime characters, Harley Quinn. You can do your Palicos. I probably recognize some of these characters from other games. It's really cool to see that you can just make beautiful white women, which seems to be what the Japanese like to do. They're also their expressions in it. One of the things that came out of it when you do an expression, they look considerably different, and people were a little bit upset. Like she looks pretty cute, and then like she makes an expression, and oof. Some of the expressions in this game were something else. I like that one. Oh my god. There's also a bug like when they held a shield, like got this frown that looked like like some like kabuki theater type of actor with the scowl, gigantic scowl here. When everyone held a shield, this is kind of crazy. A lot of women have weird teeth. That's true. But, man, I love... some of the animations in this game are so funny. Hey, cat just walks around. You got little baby secrets. He just knocks him over. These little, like, animation details are such a... just show, like, how much effort they put into the game. These cute little babies. Ooh, they fall over. I just love the little animation details that they put in the game. Of course, the beta numbers have been huge, popping up to 463,000 at its highest, and then it's dropped down to 2. Well, of course, people are slowly having to. I don't think the beta's quite over, but it's not. There's not a lot of content in it. It's pretty short. You can kill every monster in about a 2-hour, 3-hour a time frame. So the people kind of sticking around are just the super hardcore players, but already shooting up really high. I think this is going to do crazy numbers when it comes out in February. The full game's released. No, but for the open beta to have this many players on Steam is pretty nuts. And hopefully they will optimize the PC settings better, because right now it is not great. But I did want to go over. It's here's me fighting Ray Dow. I've been really enjoying it. Right now, this demo is trying to set you up here to show you hey, you can use the environment to get knockdowns. But overall, just super fun. Right now is one thing that Monster Hunter does that I think is really its selling point is the fact that they're British. Is the fact that they just put so much detail into their monsters. Their enemies are really the showcase of this game, not necessarily the player or the playable characters. And it's one of the reasons that people are willing to fight the same monster 100 times. And just the detail they put into it. I'm playing with my brother. He just mounted the monster. They're flying around. He's going to try and get a knockdown here. Moving on. You can just see the expression they put. I love this attack where he just flies and then scrapes the ground. Has a sort of rail gun type of attack that he generates electricity, stabs the ground. Oh, I didn't want to. Let me turn up the volume for this, because I love the sound design Ray Dow has on it with the buzzing when he uses an electrical attack. That little buzz when he does an attack is so cool. It's a very weird type of roar. Kind of echoey. There's something off-putting about it, which I think just adds to the monster. I just hit with an awesome offset attack. I love the offset. I love those offset attacks. They're like a counter hit. It makes you feel so cool when you do it. So it gives you these really cool, and when you have a really cool enemy, it gives you a great opportunity to feel really cool as you fight him. As you counter his attacks. And that's really the place where Monster Hunter just shines. This really awesome looking attacks. They give you a way to counter and fight it and outsmart it using either items, using counters. They got the focus mode. I haven't used it a whole lot. With wounds. Again, you just have a lot of different options to take down and fight monsters, and they look exceptionally cool. And that is, I think, where the essence of Monster Hunter is doing this over and over again. The settings itself is actually really cool looking. I think they did a great job. It's just a weird type of wasteland with a lot of interesting geography, different rocks and desert. I don't think I have any footage of right now. It is not on the Switch. This would not run at all on the Switch. Yeah, the beta is free to play. I think it's still happening. It ends today. but I think it's still going on until a little bit later. But yeah, you do need a PC, and you do need a pretty decent PC to play it, at least at the moment. But it, you know, the full game comes out in February. I think it's like February 28th or 25th. Let me look that up while I show you some more footage. I just love the way it sort of like looks at the player. That crazy attack. I'm surprised the shield can block it that well. That's just so cool. Let me see. Let me Google this Monster Hunter now. Hunter Wilds release date. Yeah, February 28th. The last day of February. What's crazy is that they're going to release Assassin's Creed Shadows like 10 days before this game comes out. Again, I love that little like buzz that he does. It's such a cool sound design, and shows, you know, just how much quality, how much, you know, work they put into these monsters to make them as high quality as possible. One thing I didn't like about the Ray Dow fight is he likes to fly away a lot. Like, we had to, like, I think we fought him in like 6 different locations. But it was a very fun fight. This guy is kind of like the apex of this this area. And you can tell because they put a lot more detail and attacks into him than any of the other monsters in the beta. You know, but that's, you know, what, you know, this apex monster is supposed to be. It's kind of like, whoa, this is a super cool fight. There's Barahara here. Oh, again, that attack is so cool looking. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. Sometimes, you know, monsters will sort of show up and start fighting each other. Another cool like thing to help you know, the world feel more alive. Ray Dow's, you know, fighting them. I guess they're gonna fight. Gonna stab him a bit. Oh no, he got knocked down. What's it to beat him? But anyway, my first impressions of this game are incredibly good. I'm really happy. I'm really looking forward. Again, like I said, it flies away. I'm really looking forward to playing the full game. It seems like it's gonna be a blast. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Mish? I guess, yeah, you did there he is. Oh, you guys. Yes, get a PC. Get a PC. Other thing I wanted to mention, Nintendo of America came out with this device, like a little news. That's kind of a cool idea. Nintendo Music, you can get the app on your phone. You have to have a Switch Online membership, but I do have a Switch Online membership. So, like, if you already have that, then it's a nice little extra bonus. Personally, I have YouTube Premium,
Mario.
so it's, you know, so it's not
Your favorite Nintendo games.
it's not better than YouTube
Nintendo
Premium.
Music. A smart device app that lets you stream or download music to the app for offline listening. Nintendo Music features a variety of tracks from franchises such as Animal Crossing, The Legend of Zelda, Super Mario, and many more. You can listen to curated playlists based on different themes.
They'll just give you a lot of interesting options to do that.
From Princess Zelda to Yoshi.
It's nothing that you couldn't like get through YouTube Premium, but if you already have the Switch Online app, or, you know, Switch Online, then you get that's a little extra for you. The other thing, slight thing mentioned, the United Nations on the elimination of discrimination against women CEDAW, which I hope no people listen to the United Nations, but I don't think anything's gonna become of this. At least I hope. But, you know, something could become out of it. So basically, they came out this Yamada Toro, as a cabinet officer, came out against the recommendations that CDAW, this Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, came out with, saying that they wanted to they wanted to put regulations in place about some sort of measures to monitor, to address the production and distribution of pornography, video games, and animation products that reinforce discriminatory gender stereotypes and reinforce sexual violence against women and girls, which, again, it's censorship. They want, the state to do more to censor these, to monitor and address, which, again, like fine or censor different forms, art forms, and like manga and anime and video games and pornography that have, discriminatory gender stereotypes, which I don't even know what that entails. I guess it could entail everything. So it could be, they portrays them as mothers. That's a gender stereotype. Or I assume, sexual, even like with sexual violence, like that's, again, it's part of the video games. I mean, some of that stuff, it can be, very powerful tools for storytelling, or, you never know. With anime and video games, I'd rather like this stuff to be in it rather than censored. Uncomfortable stuff or like extreme stuff is interesting, especially when it comes to works of fiction. So, for the government, the United Nations, which has a pretty bad history with stuff involving children and those other things. Just look into UN and sort of child sex crimes on Google, and you'll probably find some stuff. But anyway, the fact that UN is sort of getting involved, but the reality, it's unfortunate to see this. And you have these government agencies constantly putting pressure. You wonder why stuff is so bland nowadays in terms of media. And then you see even the United Nations has committees to try and make it more bland, along with various other NGOs and advocacy groups that are just constantly drumming, oh, this is discriminatory. You can't have sexy women in your video game or your anime or your cartoon. That's perpetrating, sexual violence against women, which is a complete lie. Like, there's no real science backing that up. Like, I've looked into some of the studies, they're absurd. They're absurd and show like no real long-term consequences of doing this stuff. It's the same thing with violence in video games. They show that, like after you play a violent video game, the little kids get revved up, and they might, just like watching like a wrestling match, you might want to like do a wrestling move, to your brother after you watch a wrestling match, but for like, it doesn't make you more violent overall long term. It just gets you hyped up and gets you going. That's a perfectly normal thing for young men. But again, that's so easy for these government agencies to, honestly, I think they want to construe it with violence, so they can go further into persecuting men, making sort of legislation in order to sort of further restrict men. And then, anyway, I don't want to get too black-pilled on that. But, this is it for the stories that I had for you guys. It's been an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like the video, subscribe if you enjoyed it. I appreciate it. We got a shitload of viewers, 15 viewers, which is very cool. Very glad to see that. Hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you later. I'm going to be redirecting to my channel, which we're going to have Post Zero on there. Also, good to see you, Marty. We'll be talking about, having fun. It's a very important thing to do in life if you're on your journey of self-improvement, trying to improve your life. It's important, it's important to be serious, but you got to be careful not to get too serious. So we're going to be talking about that and various other things. So again, hit like, subscribe, and we'll see you there in an hour. All right, guys. Thank you. Goodbye.